Hello everyone. Welcome to the course Introductory Neuroscience and Neuroinstrumentation. This is the second submodule of the lecture series Basics of Brain-Computer Interface Experimentation. I am Ratin Joshi. In this particular submodule, we will focus more on stimuli generation. We got the basic introduction in the previous submodule. So in this case, we will see how we can generate auditory stimuli, how we can generate visual stimuli. In fact, we are going to demonstrate like three examples of visual stimuli and auditory stimuli. Additionally, generation is as important as insertion. So, for further clinical interpretation, we record both biopotential and stimuli generated values. So, generating a desired stimuli is one task, whereas you need to exactly give the same timings to your recording device. So, that is another task. So, how we can insert a generated stimuli to a recording device? What are the recording device? All this thing we will try to cover in this particular submodule. So we'll go step by step. First we will see auditory stimuli for one event and two event with some variations. In case of visual stimuli, first we will see for two events, then we will see for three events. So let's start the lecture. Hi, in this presentation we will look at the auditory stimuli generation, and we'll take three cases of different kind of auditory stimuli. Before I show you the auditory stimuli which we have generated using Arduino Uno, I would like to tell you that you can generate this auditory stimuli using different kind of microcontrollers. I hope all of you, like most of you, are aware with timers and counters which are mainly can be programmed in microcontroller. I would advise you to select any single board, normal microcontroller. It can be Arduino Nano, it can be Raspberry Pi, whatever in which you are comfortable. You can select one particular microcontroller and try dumping a code generated by respective software. So basically the flow for auditory stimuli generation is you need to program your auditory stimuli using some software, and further you have to dump the code into a respective microcontroller. In our case, we have generated a INO file for Arduino Nano and Arduino Uno, and we have generated all three stimuli which I am showing it right now. I'll be showing in Arduino. It was dumped in Arduino Uno or Arduino Nano. One more thing, you can use Raspberry Pi. For that you have to program your auditory stimuli in PsychoPi. PsychoPi is open access software from University of Nottingham, and it is available online. You can download it. In the subsequent slides, I am going to show you a demonstration of auditory stimuli generation using PsychoPi. So I have already told you that auditory stimuli is characterized by number of events. So we will see three examples in which one of them will be a single event stimuli, whereas the other would be a two event stimuli. So these three are the auditory actually generated auditory stimuli using Arduino Nano. So we will talk about each stimuli one by one. So first is one event stimuli. Mostly this kind of stimuli is used for audiometry purpose, where you just have to check whether a person is able to listen properly or not. So in other words, for hearing screening, that one event stimuli is used. In terms of cognitive neuroscience, it is called as auditory evoked potential. Also, one more kind of audiometry test which is being known as auditory brainstem response, in which such kind of train of clicks or train of pulses are being presented. So yeah, this kind of stimuli can be generated and I'll show you how to generate one event and two event stimuli. Now if we move ahead to two event stimuli, there are two types in the shown two event stimuli. So basically there are, in both the waveforms, if you see, red ones are the more frequently occurred events, and like in all three cases, this on time or duration for particular tone is 100 millisecond, whereas in the first case, the off time, that is a time between two consecutive stimuli, is 400 millisecond in case of one event stimuli. In case of two event stimuli, the time is 900 millisecond. So in other words, the one event stimuli is presented at 2 hertz, whereas two event stimuli is presented as 1 hertz. In this case of two event stimuli, if you focus, you can see that there is some regularity in case of that blue color deviant. So red color is more frequent and is known as standard. Blue color is a rarely occurring, like less frequent, it is known as deviant. So in case of two event top stimuli, blue colored deviant occurs after 4 standard. So it's like a constant pattern. I have not shown the entire stimuli, but it is a constant. It has a regular deviant, whereas in case of the bottom two event stimuli, the deviant occurs after irregular number of standard. If you can see this deviant occurs after 4 standard, whereas this deviant occurs after 8 standard. So there is not a regularity in terms of deviant occurrence. So but why it is like that? So based on some of the cognitive ERPs, event related potential, you have to design your stimuli. So first, this two event stimuli is based on an ERP known as mismatch negativity, MMN, whereas the bottom one is for another cognitive ERP known as P300. So I would like you to encourage you to go through the basics of MMN stimuli or P300 stimuli. You will find somewhat similar stimuli to this. One more thing which I would like to mention is this deviant and standard. If you can see just a waveform, magnitude remains the same. Then some of you might ask that why, if the magnitude same, how can this be deviant? So it is not required that you should alter the intensity, volume or magnitude. In this case, you can change your frequency, you can change duration as well, but in this case amplitude and duration is same. But as we have generated the stimuli, we kept the standard frequency as 500 hertz, whereas deviant frequency at 1000 hertz. One more thing I would like to mention here is that in most audiometry techniques, what happens is they will start with a particular reference intensity, and they will keep on decreasing the intensity, and parallelly they will check the waveforms which should be generated as a reflection of generated auditory stimulus. So the moment that response will stop coming, or the moment your brain is not able to perceive that particular sound, it would be that particular level of intensity would be defined as your auditory threshold, your threshold. So similar kind of waveform also can be generated using PsychoPy or Arduino Nano, anything. So now what we will see is in the next video or slide, what we will see is how to generate this kind of auditory stimuli using PsychoPy. So next we'll see the demonstration using PsychoPy. So once you successfully download the PsychoPy, I have downloaded PsychoPy 3. You can see 3 windows. One would be a coder, one would be a builder, and one would be the PsychoPy runner. Mostly we will use a PsychoPy builder because it's very friendly GUI. You can easily generate the kind of stimuli you want. You can use it has basically a three panel. One is a routine, other one is the flow, whereas this one is component. using which you can generate a different kind of stimuli. You can even get the responses. I'll come into that later. We can use images for visual evoked potential. You can use sound. You can give some instruction as well. You can print some text and all. But in our case of auditory stimuli generation, let's say we are using only one event stimuli. We want to make one event stimuli. So we only have a standard. So let's rename it as a standard. Okay. And suppose we want to repeat it. Let's say 5 times. So we need to insert a loop from this point to this point, and you have to tell them how many times you want to repeat. You can even name this a variable, how many number of trials you want. Let's say we can tell it repetition rates. So here, if I want it 5 times, I can press OK. So this particular standard routine will get repeated 5 times. But what is there in standard routine? So we have to define a standard. So this is basically an input sound which you can generate. You can name it as standard if you want. You can, but standard name is already being used by NumPy function. So we have to give some other name. Let's keep it standard 2. Here you have to enter multiple parameters. What is the start time of that particular tone? So let's see. Let's say we want it to get started at 0.2 second, and how much period of time you want it to be remain on. Then it will be 0.1. Duration would be 0.1. Duration is the total duration. Let's say we'll keep it as 1. Okay, so it will have a start time as 0.2 and duration as 1 second. We can also select the frequency of a sound. You can give it in the form of a notation like A, B flat and all. You can even give the number of frequency. Generally we use 500 Hertz, so I'll give that 500 Hertz. You can give your volume values from 0 to 1. Once you are done, you just press OK. Now you see you can correlate with this, that the entire stimuli duration was 1 second and start time was 0.2. If I would have given here that my start time is 0.2, but I need let's say I want it for 1 second, I need one event. So I'll just change this thing to 0.4 and I'll press OK. Now what will happen is that if I play this sound, it will be on for off for 0.2 millisecond and on for 0.2 millisecond. I don't think it would be convenient for you guys to hear it, so let's keep it as a half a second. Okay, so it will be on for half a second, off for half a second at 500 Hertz. Let's run the program. It should generate tone 5 times. Let's see. It will ask where you want to save your project, so we can save it as here. You can make a folder Psycho by experiments. Here you can name it as auditory stimulus 1. Just save it. It will take some, at least first time it will take some time. You can, if you want, you can add the name of a participant and how many events are generated. Now listen carefully. I hope you heard the sound. The stimuli is generated for 5 times. Okay, this is a very basic example of getting auditory stimuli. Okay, that too also with one event. Similarly, let's try for another stimuli for 2 events. In this case, suppose I need to add some delays in between standard event and deviant event. Okay, let's say in this case only I need to add a deviant after 5 standard. So I need to add one more routine here. I will name it as a deviant. Then I should specify where exactly I want to put. It should come after some several number of standards. So after this loop terminates, I want to put it. So I'll put it here. Okay. Now I'll reduce this parameter for your better it will save the time. So let's keep the standard as 3, and after every 3 standards I need one deviant. So I should have one more loop which will be covering this, and I want that loop to also repeat at 3 times. Now one more thing, here it is on for 0.5 second and then it is off. So we have already seen I have to design a deviant in the similar fashion so that interval between two consecutive tones will not be altered. So what I'll do, I'll insert a sound here. I'll use the similar kind of timing specification 0.5. Only thing I'll change is, previously I've written 500 Hertz, here I will write 1500 Hertz. So you can clearly sense the change in sound. There are some other parameters also, you can change the volume and all. I will come to that in some time. But before that, this is kind of a very easy way to illustrate how you can get a regularized deviant in case of 2 event stimuli. So I'll just press the OK. So here we have used 2 routines, standard and deviant. And as per this repetition, standard will first come 3 times and then one deviant will come. Again standard will come 3 times, one deviant. Let's hear that if we can get any change or anything. Okay, let's see. Again listen carefully. Yeah, so I hope this thing is clear. Let's make one more modification. Let's say we are not using this kind of 2 events, but we want to have even bigger event, or let's say we want to use something for, as I mentioned now, for audiometry testing. So in that case, what is required is you should have a routine which will be decrease in terms of frequency, decrease in terms of intensity rather, so that volume will keep on decrease. So what we can do is, it is not like for only once we will give one particular volume. So what we can see is, we will discretize the volume in 5 parts. Okay, let's name it tone 1. So tone 1 we consider as the highest amplitude. We'll put it here. We will repeat it 3 times. Okay, so in this case tone 1, we will name this guy as repetitions of 1. Okay, now what is the tone 1? Then we have to add the sound. We have to put the sound lever here. Here we will keep the frequency as 500 Hertz, and we will keep it on. Similarly, we are not going to change the timing specification. We'll keep it as it is, so that all of you can hear it properly. So this sound is 500 Hertz and 1 is your volume level. Okay, so what I'll do is, once I am done with this thing, I will add one more routine, new routine. Let's name it tone 2. Where do we want to put it? I want to put it after tone 1, and I want to loop it also in a similar way for 3 iterations like I did before. I'll name it as a repetition 2. I'll keep it here. What is tone 2? So again I need to generate a tone 2, in order to maintain the delay and timing everything in this. I want to keep it synchronized, so I'm not going to change the timing duration. It was 500 hertz, so it was properly in that case properly you were able to listen to that. So this I will keep it as now 0.8. Okay, so this is another repetition. Similar way we can go ahead and decrease the intensity. Let me quickly do that. In this case we will set the amplitude as 0.6. last time we have kept it as 0.8. so here I will put it as repetition 3. What is my tone 3? Then tone 3 is a sound. It is getting generated with 50% duty cycle of square wave at frequency 500 hertz, and my volume of this particular tone would be 0. It was 0, I guess. Then nobody would be able to hear anything. Yeah, it should be 0.6, and this is my generated tone 3. Okay, quickly heading tone 4 at the end of the stimuli should get repeated thrice. As normally it should get repeated thrice for repetition 4. Just to give you people a proper understanding of what I'm doing, first of all I have to define tone 4. Tone 4 is a sound with the same timing specifications. Oh, sorry, my bad. 0.5, 0.5, frequency would be 500 hertz, and volume in this case would be 0. Oh, again 0. It should be 0.4. Tone 4 has a volume 0.4. Oh, I hope I'm right. This guy is 0.6. Okay. So I will finally I'll add just a final routine. As I mentioned, tone 5, very easy, right? You just have to keep on adding instances. You can loop it in whichever manner you want, and you will get a desired. You should and remember, all this thing is just one part of the entire cognitive neuroscience experimentation. So what you are doing is you are generating a particular stimuli based on particular timing. So I will show you this final one. Again, the same timing specification we will use. And here I'll put it 0.2. So every tone is getting repeated thrice and is made up of 1 second. So basically it's a 15-second auditory stimuli will be played. I want all of you to listen it carefully, that if you are getting any kind of if you notice there will be a change in terms of intensity, and basically this kind of stimuli is used for threshold detection. And one more thing I want to I don't want to invest too much time in this, but yeah, if you want it won't be decrement in terms of amplitude will not happen when they also repeat that in order to confirm. So these trials are very important. If you want, you can put it as 2 here. I will not put it 2 right now, but if you want, you can put it. So now, without adding anything in this logic, I will just try to run the stimuli. You guys listen it carefully. You should be able to identify the change. If you are using headphones, please keep it a little away from your ears, or I would advise you to not to use any kind of headphones, but use a speaker of your laptop or PC. So I'll play this. I'll play the stimuli now, auditory stimuli. Let's see. Yeah. I hope the change is evident in the generated stimuli. So that's it for the demonstration for auditory stimuli. I hope you understood how we can generate this auditory stimuli. It's a one-part stimuli generation. So we will see in we'll quickly glance through how we can insert this stimuli to the recording device in the subsequent module. Uh, yeah, so now next we will discuss about visual stimuli followed by a demonstration for visual stimuli. I hope all of you understood how we can generate auditory stimuli using PsychoPy. So now, as we have given a brief intro about auditory stimuli before demonstration, we will take a look at the visual stimulus in the similar fashion. So how we can generate a visual stimuli? So there are softwares available, PsychoPy, presentation and all. So this will using this software you can program your visual stimuli, and further you should have appropriate display like Raspberry Pi display or something like that, in which you can see your generated image. So these are like very basics of visual stimuli. I will just show you first small two event stimuli. It's actually a very a longer duration. Chop it up for 30 seconds. So I will show you that 30-second stimuli. Yeah, so blue square was the standard, whereas a red one was a rare occurrence. In that case, we kept the occurrence rate of standard as 87 and deviant or rare square as 13%. Similarly, in some of the cognitive neuroscience experiment, you need a three event stimuli for visual evoked potential. Now, in that three event stimuli, the aim is to find out subject's response towards the target, or a subject's response towards the target with some distractor is there. So basically there are three events. One is standard, one is target, and one is distractor. In case of target, subject was asked to press a button or remember the count of the occurrences of target. Basically, when someone with poor motor control or someone who is paralyzed, who cannot press the key, for them they used to ask them to keep a track of number of count. So these are like different scenarios of three event stimuli. So we'll quickly see small glimpse or 30-second interval of this three event stimuli, in which blue one is the standard, yellow square is the deviant, and checker box is the distractor. So I'll just play the video for you before, and we'll after this video we'll see the final video. Now this video has been used by researcher John Polish, who has done a lot of work on P300 event related potential. So that is also a visual evoke potential. So I will play this video one by one, and once the videos played, we'll discuss further. I'll play the other video. In this video, instead of square box, we are using ball or circle, which is like a standard component to be used in visual evoke potential, and we are again using checker box. In this case, the parameter is two blue balls have been used with different size, whereas here two different color balls were used. So I'll just play this video for you for some time, and then we will see the actual generation of stimuli using PsychoPy. So let's see how we can generate visual stimuli using PsychoPy software. So first we need to add some routine into a flow. Let's add a new routine and name it as image 1. Like we have seen in auditory stimuli generation, we have repeated one particular audio 5 times. We will do the same way just to check the functionality for repetition of first image. So first image should repeat it 5 times, but you need to define your image 1 in routine window. So what is there in first image? So I'll take this image as a component and let's rename it as image 1. You have to set your start time and end time. So start time is nothing but when your image will appear, and during like how much duration of time you want it after you, the total duration you want to keep. So that is your when does this component ends. So that is after 0.5 second. So it will start at 0.5 second, it should stay there for 0.5 second. Now which kind of image you want to use, so you have to define your path, your image here. So we will see that these images are stored here. So I just have to copy paste the path and the image name here in order to get this particular image as a stimuli. So let's take an example of blueball.png image which is already stored there. Just press the OK. So this timeline will tell you that after half a second the image will appear here, and as I already mentioned that it will get repeated 5 times. So let's just confirm this once. So let's save it as a visual stimulus 1. So once we save it, as usual it will ask us about the participant's name and session. If you are performing a specific experiment for certain number of trials, you can fill this and check. For now I just pressed OK. As you observed, it was 5 repetition of a blue ball image. Now let's say I want to generate red ball as a deviant or like as a rare stimuli after 4 blue ball. So I have to first change this number of repetitions to 4. I need to define one more routine which is like known as a deviant or the other second image. I should also define at what period of time I want that image to occur, and also I should tell what is image 2. So I have to, same way I have defined image 1, I have to define image 2. I'll name it as image 2. Similarly, we will define the time interval that it should start after 0.5 second and it should stay there for 0.5 second. This time, last time we have used a blue ball, so this time we will use the other one, red ball, which I have already stored as an image. You can see here, red ball. So redball.png. Once you OK it, this name is in use by one of your components. Okay. So this is how you can define the path for rel ball, and you can press OK. So now both the images are defined. Let's see let's repeat this thing like we did for auditory stimulus. Let's repeat it for 4 times. So you have to create a loop. Let's keep it repetitions 2 and repeat it 4 times. So in a way this loop is getting repeated 4 times, and this, so it will generate a 16 second stimuli with red ball and blue ball. Let's see that. So in a way you can design visual stimulus based on your requirement. If you want to add some more complexity, generally in case of two events multiple event stimuli, you can use one more stimuli. Mostly this kind of checkerboard stimuli is also used with reverse checkerboard pattern and all. But yeah, the idea behind this demonstration is to let you people know that using different stimuli components available in PsychoPy, you can generate a visual stimuli based on your requirement. And I would like to encourage all of you to go through the PsychoPy documentation and generate more number of generate different various triggers. Also, I would like to encourage all of you to go through this demonstration, and you will come to know that if you use this software properly, then how different kind of stimuli which you can generate. I think itself it is enough to generate stimuli for most of the cognitive neuroscience experiments. So further we will see that how we can insert the generated stimuli into the acquisition device. Now you guys know how to generate a different kind of stimulus, at least how to write a program for it, how it can be generated using PsychoPy. Still, you can go through the documentation and demos. It will give you in detail idea, and you can design a stimulus as per your requirement. But like this thing is like according to me is half job done, because the thing is, once you generate a stimuli, the same stimuli should be conveyed to your recording device, because ultimately your biopotential which are recorded with respect to a stimuli, that matters. So you need both information, biopotential through your electrodes, through your channels, as well as the stimuli, like exactly at what time you have seen which image, exactly at what time a particular tone has changed to which frequency and at what time. So this temporal synchronization is very important, and event should be inserted to acquisition device exactly the same time at which it was heard or it was seen. Both the stimulus, timing changes and everything should be conveyed exactly at the same time when it was observed. We need to use some mechanism using which we can deliver the triggers with precision in timing. So there is one setup, proposed setup which we have used. So OpenBCI Ganglion, just consider that as a recording device. Okay, it's a 4-channel device which has like signal conditioning and finally the analog to digital converter, followed by a transmitter or Bluetooth transmitter. So what we will do is we can whatever stimuli which you have generated in PsychoPy, you can run it on Raspberry Pi, so you can see the whatever your stimuli is. And Raspberry Pi has a serial output, so you need to use a parallel port using which you can in case of multiple events, if you need your events to be fed to different data pins or different digital, because these events will be having a form will be having a digital form, so zeros and one. It stays one during one event, it will convert to zero when that event is not there, some other pin should be one when the other event is there. So similar provision is been provided by OpenBCI Ganglion board, where you can use digital IO pins to insert the event. So this is one setup. There is one more setup which we have used. So in case of auditory experiment, we have generated using Arduino Uno. So all of you know that you can write INO file and you can dump the code into the Arduino Uno. Similarly, you can talk, or you can convert the triggers to OpenBCI site on board. Now the Ganglion was a smaller recording device, it was 4 channel, whereas Cyton is 8 channel board of OpenBCI. It's a standard board which is used to acquire biopotential. Now how this Arduino performs two tasks. One, it is generating a sound, at the same time it is conveying your event information into OpenBCI. So far you have seen how to generate a stimuli, but event insertion is equally important a phenomena, and it should be taken proper care of, otherwise it may result, I mean your entire experiment may fail if your triggers are not inserted properly. Very important thing, these are just two setup examples have been provided by me. If you can generate your event information, or you as a part of your digital output through any microcontroller, you are encouraged to use that, and you are ultimately your stimuli should be seen and transferred exactly at the same time. So that's all we have in this stimuli generation and insertion module. I hope it clears a lot of questions you have, and I hope now you understood and able to make any kind of auditory and visual stimuli. Don't forget to have a look at the demos of PsychoPi, and we'll see next time. At that time we'll discuss about experimental protocols and how biopotential are acquired. Till then, you take care. Bye bye.